Thanks so much, Joanna. We really appreciate it. So welcome all to this webinar about agent opportunities to build partnerships with local supermarkets through local food programs. And thanks to Joanna for all her help organizing this and coordinating it. Thank you also to our sponsors. It's been sponsored by the CEF NC Growing Together excuse me, project, which you'll hear a little bit more about in just a moment. And just to quickly go over our agenda, I'll start off by giving an introduction, a little bit of background information before turning it over to Pam Uten, who'll talk a little bit about her experiences working with a local food celebration day with Lowe's Supermarkets, and then to Krista Morgan, who will talk a little bit more about some excuse me, opportunities through a community table at Lowe's Foods. So as I said, I just wanted to begin. My name is Dara Bloom. I'm an assistant professor and local foods extension specialist in the Department of Youth, Family, and Community Sciences. And I want to start with an introduction to think about why we're talking about local food in the context of supermarkets. So for us in extension, I think the answer hopefully is obvious to why focus on local food. We have the local food flagship program. We're working to support farmers and communities and economic development while also providing healthy food to consumers. But I wanted to take a moment and think a little bit about why supermarkets are interested in local food. And this was a survey from 2010 from the USDA showed that over 80% of consumers reported having bought locally grown produce. So this is a trend that supermarkets are very aware of, and studies have also shown that consumers are more interested in local products than organic. So at one point it seemed like organic was sort of the big trend in sort of the food system, but local has really surpassed that. And if you pay attention to some of those local food trends that the industry groups do, every year local is on there, even with things like hyper-local. There's some supermarkets that are actually investing in having urban farms where the produce is grown on their roofs or right down the street. So supermarkets are aware that consumer demand for local is growing, and they're looking for a way to sort of tap into that. Now on the flip side, I think we can also ask the question why we're talking about supermarkets in this webinar. And research again has shown that over 90% of the food eaten at home is purchased at supermarkets. So when we think of the local food movement, we know that farmers markets the number of farmers markets has skyrocketed over the last couple of decades. There are all these alternative models like CSAs, but the reality is that most people are still doing the majority of their shopping at supermarkets. And for the most part, this is for reasons such as consumers prefer one-stop shopping. There's a lot of convenience with supermarkets. They're open almost all the time. You can find anything that you want there. But at the same time, as I said, we need to be thinking about that in terms of tapping in for local food. So one thing we hear a lot about in the local food movement is this need to scale up local foods to increase their accessibility, so we're reaching that wider range of consumers. So if we think about extension and our opportunity to collaborate a little bit with some supermarkets, we really have the chance to increase the exposure of consumers, a wider range of consumers, to our programs and classes, and also to try to increase the accessibility that consumers have to local food through the venue where most people are already shopping. As I mentioned, the NC Growing Together project is sponsoring this webinar, and the project is a 5-year USDA NEFA-funded project with the goal of bringing more locally grown foods into mainstream retail and food service supply chains, excuse me, with the goal to enhance food security by increasing access to local foods and thereby strengthening the economics of small to mid-sized farm and fishing operations. So through this project, we're partnering with Lowe's Foods and also with Fort Bragg. And today, as we're talking about partnering with supermarkets for local food programming, you're going to hear a lot about Lowe's Foods. And we just wanted to take a moment and say, through this project, we have this really unique opportunity to form a partnership with Lowe's. And Lowe's Foods, as you'll hear, is very interested in promoting local food and being a part of local communities. But the project, the NCGT project, is also hoping that through this partnership we will learn lessons that will be applicable to engaging with and working with other types of supermarkets too. So we know that it's possible that you might live in a county that doesn't have a Lowe's supermarket. So we encourage you as you're listening to the webinar to try to think about the lessons learned, the strategies, the ideas, and think about how they could be applicable to working with other supermarkets, or what lessons you might learn, and if you what you can take with you when you approach other supermarkets. In general, it's possible that some of the smaller scale chains like a Lowe's or an Ingles that are a little more regionally focused may form better partners. They have a little bit less bureaucracy than nationally based chains. Although, as I mentioned, really a lot of supermarkets are interested in local foods. They're interested in having a presence in the community. A lot of them have programs where their employees need to give back to the community. So it's possible that you could approach any supermarket that seems to be have a presence in your community, may be interested in the types of collaborations that we're going to talk about here today. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Pam and ask Pam if you'd like to turn on your microphone. And Pam is an FCS agent with Cabarrus County Cooperative Extension. She is a graduate of Appalachian State University and has enjoyed working with cooperative extension in Rowan and Cabarrus counties. For the first part of her career, she was a home economics extension agent, giving leadership to the 4-H program. And she's been serving as an FCS agent since 2005. So we'll have time for questions immediately after Pam's presentation. So feel free to type your questions into the chat box as she presents, and we'll get to them at the end of her presentation. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Pam.
Well, good morning, everybody. I hope you're staying nice and warm on this frosty morning. We had a real unique opportunity to partner in a local food celebration with our local foods store here in our local Lowe's food store in Cabarrus County. In our county, we have just one Lowe's food store, and it was in Harrisburg, an area that I really don't go shopping at. So this was a great new opportunity for me personally, as well as an opportunity for our volunteers. In January of last year, 2014, Dara Bloom contacted us about the possibility of being involved with the local food celebration at our local Lowe's Foods store. And of course, we said yes. We felt like this would be a way to promote some of our foods and nutrition programs, hopefully maybe some of our food preservation programs, and we already have a big local foods movement here in Cabarrus County. So in January, we said yes, we would love to be involved. Later, much later in the spring, early summer, we were notified that yes, this was a go, and the weekend selected was Saturday, July the 26th. They wanted to do the local food celebration, of course, in the middle of deep in the heart of the growing local season here in our county and in this area. So by this point, when the date was confirmed, I was then able to contact our local Lowe's Food Store manager, and this was Lowe's Food Store 210 in Harrisburg, and the store director, as they are called, is Matt Kroger. I had never met Matt before, and he had moved into our state from, I believe, New Jersey. So I was anxious to meet him and visit with him. And when you're contacting these store directors or store managers, kind of keep in mind that they are not on an 8 to 5 schedule, that they may be working on the weekends or at night, and just keep that in mind. They're not sitting by their desk when we try to call them. Had a great conversation with Matt. He was very, very receptive and welcomed us, and I knew my next step, to be honest, would be to recruit some volunteers, because unfortunately July 26th was right in the middle of our long-planned family vacation. So I selected or secured 4 volunteers that had been very active with our foods and nutrition programs and had also worked with our Cook Smart, Eat Smart cooking series on several occasions. The next thing we did, and probably the most important thing we did to prepare for this local food celebration, we actually visited Mr. Kroger at Lowe's, and several of the volunteers were able to go with me. And this was a very productive meeting. It gave us an opportunity to discuss a little bit about cooperative extension and family and consumer sciences, and why was Extension interested in local foods and local food preparation. It also gave us a chance to leave Extension publications and ECA pamphlets with the manager. While we were there, we confirmed the space that our volunteers would need, the tables, the setup and tear down schedule. The manager was real cute. He even promised our volunteers coffee and sweet rolls, so he could not have been more hospitable. He was very excited about working with us, and it was a new contact for him. Prior to the local food celebration, some of the things that I did in working with our volunteers is we confirmed the recipe we were going, or they were going to serve. And jumping down a little bit, you see that we selected the cold tomato soup recipe from our Extension Cook Smart, Eat Smart curriculum. This is a super recipe to highlight in the summer because it contains fresh tomatoes and fresh corn and lots of other fresh ingredients. And it's a chilled cold tomato soup that can be prepared in advance. Some of the other tasks we had were to prepare the signage. I did pack tablecloths, paper goods, all those good things, and gave them to the volunteers. Carolyn Dunn was great to help us locate a Cook Smart, Eat Smart banner to have on display. Dara was wonderful. She helped get a local foods 10% banner here, the shopping list, and the seasonal guides. And we printed the cold tomato soup recipe with some other information about our upcoming Cook Smart, Eat Smart classes. And also I emailed the volunteer schedule to Lowe's with phone numbers in case they might need them while I was out of town. The local food celebration was on Saturday, July the 26th. It was a pretty day in Cabarrus County, and we were about one of 10 different groups there. Most of the other groups there were actually selling local foods products that were also available for purchase in Lowe's food stores. And I think they were able to track how many of those products were purchased by consumers that day, which was real helpful for them. But as you see, here's a shot of 3 of our ECA volunteers, or food volunteers, at the actual day. They determined they wanted to set up at 10:30, had a shift from 11 to 1, and then a second shift from 1 to 3. On the right, you see Barbie Farms. They're one of our really large and local food producers. They're really very, very community-minded, and they were very involved in the celebration. Other types of groups that were there included local ice cream or neighboring county ice cream. I think they had wine available, locally produced wine, some barbecue sauce, other types of things. But we were a little bit different. We were giving away samples, and folks really enjoyed having an opportunity to sample a nutritious, cold and easy summer soup recipe. Following this event, of course, we did some follow-up with thank you notes and email pictures to several people involved. One really great thing that came about that helped us was while we were visiting with Lowe's Food Store in the very beginning, we talked about our upcoming agribusiness school days that would be coming up during our Cabarrus County Fair. Our target audience was 6th grade students and teachers. It was a 3-day event from 10 to 1 during the county fair. The dates were actually September 9th, 10th, and 11th. And we invited 6th grade students from all the Cabarrus County schools, Kannapolis City schools, home schools, private schools, to attend the agribusiness school day session. During this event, students and teachers rotated to 5 stations, and the stations were about 15 minutes in length, and we had 55 different stations. This was quite an opportunity to highlight various agribusiness involvement, our master gardeners, our ECA, and we had a number of this couldn't be done without community people, that's for sure. The areas of hands-on exhibits were animals, environment, nutrition, plants, and soils. It was my role to secure 11 nutrition exhibits for this 3-day event. And these are the actual nutrition stations we had that day. And first and foremost is Local with Lowe's Foods. Lowe's Foods of Harrisburg were with us for 3 days, 3 mornings during the exhibit. And they were so excited about being there. They had 2 wonderful store employees that came and interacted with our students and actually did the 15-minute presentations. They bought some examples of local foods and made salsa on the spot pretty much and let students have samples of salsa and chips. They brought other foods that were local to our area. They just had a wonderful time, and it was very, very well received by the students and teachers. We were so fortunate that this partnership came about, and we were just very, very grateful that they were with us for 3 days. In summary, I think that working with local foods, and particularly Lowe's Food Store, gives us opportunities to partner on other occasions. We in the counties are searching for partnerships, and I think this is a great opportunity, and the manager's final words to me were, let's stay in touch. So I think we have a new partnership there, and I thank you for the opportunity of being involved.
Great. Well, we thank you so much, Pam, for being willing to be our guinea pig on this occasion, and because we weren't sure, we hadn't made any connections between agents and Lowe's in this way up until now. So I don't know if anyone has any questions for Pam. You can type them into the chat box on the side. And if no one does, I'll ask a question, I guess. Pam, when we first started to talk about the potential of you guys participating in this local food celebration day, you know, I think we didn't expect that Lowe's was going to end up being such a great partner and coming to your agro-environmental field day. But I think what we originally thought too was that you might have a chance to promote some of your classes, like your Cook Smart, Eat Smart classes. And I was just wondering what you thought about sort of how that part of it worked out for you.
Yes, Dara, we did have handouts or publicity materials about our upcoming Cook Smart, Eat Smart class there. The timing for us wasn't the best because our Cook Smart, Eat Smart series is done in the winter. In fact, we're kicking it off in January. So we were giving out information in July that people would not have an opportunity to sign up for until January of 2015. Most of our food preservation classes for the summer were over, so it was kind of an in-between set time for us, but it did give us a chance to give out information, and we've done follow-up on those people that wanted to come to Cook Smart, Eat Smart classes, and I think just greater awareness of our extension opportunities. It would have been perfect for us if it had been a little earlier in the season, so we could have promoted our food preservation classes and things that we were doing in the heart of the summer. However, the local foods very much comes in, in the end of July, so this has to be a time that's convenient for our local farmers.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for sharing your experiences. If anyone has any questions, you can type them in as we go, and we can come back to them later, I guess. And I guess, Pam, if you don't mind turning off your microphone, we're going to turn things over to Krista Morgan. Oops. And Krista is the locally grown accounts representative and a research assistant with the NC Growing Together project, and she's the Lowe's food liaison. Krista has a Bachelor of Science in Horticulture with a concentration in landscape design from NC State University. She did a summer internship at Old Salem Historical Gardens in Winston-Salem and worked for 4 years at a local mail-order plant nursery in Raleigh. While in college, she traveled to Costa Rica for a sustainable agro-ecotourism course, and she has special interests in plants, food, farmers, sustainability, art and design, cooking, blogging, and her family. So as we did with Pam, we will have time for questions immediately after Krista's presentation, so you can feel free to type your questions into the chat box as she goes, and we can return to them at the end. So Krista, if you can turn on your microphone, and I will pass it over to you.
Okay. Well, hi, I'm Krista Morgan, and I'm excited to tell you about Lowe's Foods' new community tables. Hopefully you all have shopped in one of the newly remodeled stores. If not, definitely put it on your to-do list. If so, you may have noticed a large farm or picnic table within the produce and deli sections of the grocery store. These are the community tables. The company's vision for the community table is we bring you your community back to the table. The community table is where the community can meet the people behind their food, which is somewhere that I feel personally that the public has lost touch with. It helps continue to story the food and help people reconnect with local North Carolina vendors and extension agents. It caters to all types of people, whether they are quickly in and out of the grocery store or you're the type of person that's a peruser who would just like to sit down at the table and take a break from browsing. So it's really great for capturing all audiences. The community table, it just adds a flair to your shopping experience, and I feel it sets apart Lowe's Foods from all the other local stores. Like your dinner table at home, your store's community table has some great stories attached to it. That's because each of them is built from reclaimed wood that we found throughout the South. So this wood has come from old farms and barns, factories, and old train stations. Each table is a one of a kind, and it does have a story attached with it. Most tables you can find a little card that tells you where the wood came from. The table itself is local, so that's pretty cool. Each table has its own monthly calendar of events that's put together by the community store manager. So the community table manager each month, or actually prior to each month, puts together a calendar and then sends it in to the brand director to approve, and then it's posted. This one in the picture you see, these are displayed on this giant calendar at the entrance, and you can't miss it. And it's a great way to catch all those walk-ins that maybe this person is not on their computer, they're not in the store every day, but they walk in and they see this, so they can plan ahead and look at what events are going on that day, what events are going on tomorrow, and just really see what's going on in the store. Then the monthly calendar can also be found on the website under the community table section of the website, and guests can look up their specific store's table events. So depending what county or what city you're in, you can find the closest community table to you and see that monthly calendar. And let's see, and this is just an example, but you'll notice sometimes you'll see a local day, and that's when you'll have a local farmer, an extension agent, or just a local business even that's doing a presentation. And I'm actually pulled up a calendar that didn't have a logo on there for it. Let's see. And there should be a calendar printed out as a brochure at each of the tables. So again, people who are walking through the store can grab a paper calendar to take home with them to plan ahead for events. Each table also has a sign with upcoming events, so guests can see what's next, and if there's an event starting soon that they should stick around for. And I found for myself personally that those huge signs that say what's coming up next are really helpful, and I've seen many people stop by those signs and actually continue to walk through the store and shop and then come back to the table later. Now the fun part, the events. The actual events themselves, the events are hosted by the community table managers, farmers, brand reps, extension agents, and other NC local vendors. You'll find a variety of events ranging from food sampling to butter making, or local chefs giving a demo to extension agents educating guests. The community table is an excellent way to promote yourself programs partner up or your agency to the public. So you really never know who you'll meet. I did a butter making event with a company, and we had several mothers and children come and stop by, and it was so cute watching little kids shake jars of heavy cream and turn it into butter. We even had high school students who, I guess, normally wouldn't want to be seen out in public with their parents. They even stopped by and made butter with us. You really just have no idea who you're going to meet, and it's so fun to see who actually takes an interest. And then here are just some topic ideas to get you started. We have ideas from, let's see, canning, how-to cooking demos, companion planting, harvesting herbs, drying herbs, know your farmers and your farms. This would be a good time for farmers to come and just show their produce. Common pest identification, organic growing tips, native fruits for your area, fall gardening, soil improvement, nutrition workshops, growing herbs, planting for pollinators, and seed starting. But really the possibilities are endless, so anything local or food related can apply at these table events. Some topics can be tailored towards certain specific audiences, like a certain age range or food type. We've had requests for even Girl Scout troops to earn badges, which is really fun to see a bunch of Girl Scouts sitting on a table in the grocery store. If you have any topic ideas, I would love it if you could type them into the chat box on your screen. So if you'd like to just take a moment to do that, that would be wonderful. Another neat little feature is that the community table managers do a lot of food sampling, and included with the food samplings is usually a recipe card. These can be used to make our guests' lives simpler, promote local items in the store, and are a great tool to take with them for later. So the recipe cards have been featured, the recipe cards have featured extension estate agencies as well as specific brand products, if that's applicable. So the recipe cards are usually left out for an extended time past the actual event. So this is good because guests can pick up these cards well after the event has even passed. So it kind of extends the promotion or extends the event. I mean, some have been left out for a week. It just depends how many cards are printed and how many are picked up and that kind of thing. And then here's my contact information. If you're interested in participating in a community table event or just like more information, feel free to email me, call me, or email me and call me. I am happy to speak with you. And then what I usually do is I'll take some time to get to know you and then figure out which stores would make the most sense for you. You do not have to stick to your county only. Or there may be several stores that you can set up events with, and then I will connect you with the community table manager specifically and get you on the calendar. So if anyone has any questions, you can ask.
Great. Thank you so much, Krista. We appreciate it. There is one question here just about what cities currently have Lowe's stores with the community table, and if you know about sort of what the timetable is for other stores in the state to set up a community table.
Yes, I have a list that I can, let's see, I don't know if I can copy into the chat, but we have in Winston-Salem, Clemens, Cary, Louisville, Apex, let's see, Holly Springs, and then Pawleys Island, Myrtle Beach, and Jacksonville. And I can send this list, and they have not, Lowe's Foods has not released yet which stores are being remodeled for this year yet. So if your store has not been remodeled, they do not have a community table.
Okay, and just to clarify, if people are interested in finding out how to participate or in participating in a community table, even if their local store doesn't have one, they should contact you and not their local store manager, right?
Right. Well, you can contact the local store directly, but if you want a second person to make sure someone else is following up with them and making sure that everything is lined up, because these community table managers are extremely busy because they're holding events and trying to organize. And it's just good to have an extra person saying, hey, can we get these people on the calendar? So it's up to you, but I like to be able to make sure that everything's going to be set up on time.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. To have a little extra help with it sounds like a good idea. If anyone has any final questions for Krista or for Pam or for myself, please feel free to type into the chat box now. And if not, and also I think, as Krista mentioned too, I think, it sounds like those were some examples of ways that, agents could be incorporating some kind of presentation or activity at the community table, but as Krista said, they're open to ideas that might be reflective of whatever your programs or your expertise are. So we have another question is, how might an agent prepare for a meeting with a supermarket to develop a partnership?
Well, I think that we need to think about what will help the supermarket, what are they interested in, what's their time schedule. I think we've got some great curriculum. The Cook Smart, Eat Smart curriculum is something that we could certainly share with the grocery store as a possibility of tabletop exhibits or a possibility of a local food celebration. And while I'm talking, I would like to add, in the case of our Harrisburg Lowe's, it is a smaller store, and they are in the process of getting a community table. So those of you that may have smaller Lowe's, they are coming. They may not be here now, but it's going to be a great opportunity.
Thanks, Pam. And did you find too that it sounded like you needed to also, when you're preparing for your meeting, sort of explain a little bit what extension is and what we do? Is that right too?
Very much. I think when you meet the local manager, that will determine a lot. In the case of our local manager, he was originally from New Jersey and had lived in several different states and had not really been in Cabarrus County very long. So yes, he needed a little bit of update about cooperative extension and our family and consumer science programs and our local food interest and local food involvement.
Great.
Also, I think it's important to realize that you're dealing with the public in these stores, and sometimes I think there's some pressure to come up with this awesome topic to teach or come in and display, but when in reality, there's a lot of the public that don't even know what cooperative extension is. So even if you don't have something specific to promote, I think it's still a good idea to have just general events, just letting people know what cooperative extension is and what you can do with the service, and just let people know who you are. So you can really do anything.
Great, thanks. And we have another question too for Krista. Are most stores now doing local food celebrations, and what is the timing on that? Are they usually during the summer, or does the time frame vary?
Again, I haven't gotten any notifications about any, so I'm actually talking with, you may have heard of Kelly Davis. She's one of the brand directors, and she is who I would plan these with. So I'm actually meeting with her now, trying to figure out what's the game plan for this year.
Great. And for the local food celebration days, is it best for agents who might want to be involved to just approach the store manager locally?
Yes, and they'll probably end up pointing them to me. So, I mean, either way.
Okay, great. Well, thanks so much. And again, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to type them into the chat box or get in touch with, Krista or Pam or myself later on. Yeah, we have a question here too. For agents who are on the webinar, do you know if stores in your areas are doing local celebration days or similar opportunities? Has anyone seen any of that? And if you have an answer, if you could type it into the chat box. I feel like we have a shy crowd here today.
Another thing we're trying to do more of are community events. So we're trying to get out there, like for tailgating events, have a booth and that kind of thing. So I think it would be beneficial to have some agents partner up with us in doing those also, so getting out of the store and out into the public.
Does anybody have any other questions to ask here? Just go ahead and pop those into the chat bar. Okay, so thank you all for joining us. We appreciate it, and have a great day and stay warm. Thank you to Pam and Krista for taking the time out to be with us today. We really appreciated hearing from both of you. Thank you all.
Thank you.